Hey guys, I made something cool that I want to show you. But before we get into that, there are 8 mainline Mega Man X games. And like half of them are good, none are more infamous than the 6th installment, which is an enigma for confusion and frustration. That's what makes it so intriguing to a game developer such as I, to understand and study the shit show that is a result of clearly ambitious and cool ideas not given enough time in the oven for refinements and playtesting. This is why I find games like Sonic 06 so interesting to me. They really tried with these games, but maybe they bit off more than they could chew. You know? Mega Man X6 has a lot of problems. The jank level design, this stage, yep, there's boss fight. There's boss fight. Also, deciding to withhold literally all information that could be somewhat helpful to the player, spreading rumors on how mechanics work, leaving only confusion and misfortune. None, of course, more pronounced than the famous Nightmare system the game introduces. The Nightmare system is a form of auxiliary gimmicks/effects that affect the stages that you visit. They can range from somewhat annoying to the worst thing ever. People keep getting this information wrong, so I'm going to explain it the best I can. Also, they don't tell you this because the developers had like 3 minutes to develop this game before it was sent to the European shelves. Each stage has a corresponding nightmare effect. When you enter the stage, 1 to 2 other levels will now have that nightmare effect. They are highlighted red. The only way to get rid of that effect is by going to another stage and overriding that effect with a different one, like a pick your poison type of thing. Stages that aren't red will still have nightmare effects. That shit ain't going anywhere. Let me explain with an example. Let's say I go to Infinity Maginian stage. Now, Rainy Turtleoid stage will have this darkness nightmare effect, which is borderline unplayable. Only way to get rid of it is by going into Shield Sheldon stage. You can beat the boss or just get a game over. When you return to Turtleoid stage, now these spooky PNGs will fly towards you instead of the darkness. Sometimes I wonder if even the developers played this game. Probably too busy rocking out to that soundtrack, guys. Damn! Let's go through the nightmare effects that we encounter on our Mega Man journey. I'll give them a star rating in terms of difficulty so you know which ones to watch out for and replace like immediately. Commander Yanmark stage gives us these robot bugs that hang on the left and right of you, building up as a swarm, which mostly acts as an annoyance as they block most generic damage. Shooting them enough with lemons will cause them to buzz off. But that's only temporary, as they'll just return. You can completely destroy them with Commander Yanmark's... Fuck these names, dude. If you use the Dragonfly's weapon, it will destroy the bugs. And in fact, that goes for most tangible nightmare effects. They can be destroyed by their own corresponding infectors. No, not the case for the darkness, of course. No, you can't get rid of that. The bugs are pretty easy and only serve as a minor inconvenience. Just cover yourself in a blanket and pretend that buzzing mosquitoes aren't there. 2 out of 5 stars. Shield Sheldon has a pretty cool nightmare effect and one of the only ones that I consider a fun design mechanic. And not that obtrusive, but still effective. These apparitions of your long-lost lover appear and dart towards you. They periodically appear throughout the stage and brightly colored, so you can't miss them and they won't blend into the background. I mean, sure, that maybe it could use a little bit of animation, you know, but, you know, these devs probably weren't allowed to see their family until the game was completed. 3 out of 5 stars. Now, this one is just absurd. Blaze Heatnix introduces Raining Fire, which just throws shit all over the screen. Now, look at this. How am I supposed to reasonably dodge all these projectiles? I mean, thank God they don't do too much damage if you're wearing any sort of armor, but you'd think they could just tone it down a little bit. I mean, you know, that's the moral of the story, right? On its own, it's not too bad, but it's just coupled with the level design and all these enemies, it's just too hectic, so it just gets messy. It's just a shit show. 3 out of 5 stars. Ground Scattervich effect introduces these mysterious blocks, which sort of get in the way. They don't do anything aside from that. Some can be destroyed with their weakness, while others just kind of move away, but it's barely noticeable. I mean, yeah, not much I could say about a bunch of debug blocks. 1 out of 5 stars. Speaking of blocks, we may as well do Metal Shark Players, which introduces these metal blocks that slam up and down, acting as a sort of hazard. Although, you can use them as platforms and simply jump over them, so they aren't really too bad. They do a fair chunk of damage if you're caught under them, but that's really it. 2 out of 5 stars. Rainy Turtleoid gives you this rain effect, which is different from the acid rain from its level, which slowly depletes your life. Here, it's intended to push you in the direction that the rain is falling, like a gust mechanic. Only issue is, I mean, I tried, but you can barely notice it. Standing still, you don't move, so it must only affect you while you're in the air. But I can't see it. Also, it like only affects certain rooms at the whole stage, so you'd be lucky to even see it. But I'll give it a 1 out of 5 stars, and I'll let you know in the future why. Blizzard Wolfang has an effect that makes the ground a little slippery here and there. And it's only on this stage, by the way. Man, just going through these, maybe the nightmare system was really just mass hysteria. These effects aren't too bad. 1 out of 5 stars. Oh, okay, now I get it. This is the one everyone talks about. Infinity Maginian introduces this darkness effect, which makes the game unplayable. Especially in the Rainy Turtloid stage, where you have to destroy these little eyeball robots in order to pass to the next area. I mean, comparing all the effects together, this and the fireballs are the only effects worth worrying about, which is a perfect example of how unbalanced this game is. 5 out of 5 stars. Oh, good lord. Now, I've once again had an idea to incorporate a similar idea into my own game and see if this idea of almost randomly selected auxiliary stage effects can be done justice. And I think I might be onto something by changing one of the most important things, by making it optional. In my game, you have the ability to replay stages, which increases the level difficulty scaling and adds some wacky palette hue changes like something out of Sonic Mania. You want to do this if you want to get some extra cash for buying weapons and upgrades. A hard mode, if you will. So by making it completely optional and giving the player the choice to deal with it, comes off a lot less annoying to the player. Instead of seeing what all the hype about X6 is about and then entering a stage where a third of the screen is visible because you went in the wrong order about a mechanic which isn't properly explained. Yeah, I wanted to avoid that. Alright. So the nightmare effects. I had this idea that when you replay a stage, it's called a Blight Man. And then you get to roll a slot machine. As they roll, they get you 3 blights that are chosen randomly, and then they like haunt the player throughout the level. It took some time to fully get the intro cutscene to work out, and God forbid figuring out how to do scrolling sprites. Seemed to miss that when I went to Programming Academy. But once that was all figured out, I don't know, it just needed a bit of style. I wanted to replicate the casino slot style machines, but I also want to have an aura of surrealism to show that this is by no means a natural event. After 500 different iterations, I present to you. Let's go over the blights. But first, I'll list the rules and how they slightly differ from Mega Man X's nightmare effects. First off, these are entirely flexible, unlike the nightmare effects, which usually affect 2 to 3 levels, and even 1 in just an embarrassing case. These blights can appear on every single level with no issues at all. Of course, some will naturally be more effective on some levels compared to others, but you know, the idea stands. Secondly, these effects do not involve me editing the levels. These are completely code and generative dependent. While it is cool to run around to each level and place a bunch of blocks or level design changes, it defeats the idea that these are purely modular and can be slapped onto anything. Maybe if I get bored, I may do these as level design changes. Thirdly, the idea is I don't want to weaken the player. It simply adds to the challenge instead of ruining your build because you got an unlucky roll. This also means nothing that truly affects your movement, like the wind idea from X6. I mean, because look at this. Yeah, this jump is not possible by traditional means. So I've got to say thanks to Ray for showing me how deadly the wind can actually be. So since it's all supposed to be flexible, there may be a situation where a jump could be impossible like this. So I don't want to risk that. And lastly, these effects are stackable, which is the fun part. If you were to roll 2 or 3 of the same effects, they should have an increased level of intensity, which drastically increases how many different scenarios the player can face. For example, our first blight is Saw Party, which periodically spawns these little enemies called saws. They track down the player and are pretty easy to kill, but they are constantly harassing the player and can go through walls. At higher intensities, they spawn more and more, often making them a true pain in the ass. But if you have splash damage or something, you know, you'll be fine. 2 out of 5 stars, I'll give it. Stress Signal is a different kind of enemy ambush. When you take damage, these spooky fellas appear and they will chase you to the ends of the earth. They're pretty weak, however, but they can inspire a snowball effect as they have no cooldown on spawning. Make sure to deal with them before you're overrun. 3 out of 5 stars. Cataracts makes the screen dark. Now, calm down. Don't worry, it's nothing like X6. Instead, it just adds a layer of darkness to the screen. But it can still be illuminated with any light-bearing object, which typically are lights or projectiles. There are even upgrades which emit light, so just be careful. Some sneaky enemies may attack you from the darkness, but other than that, it's not too bad. 2 out of 5 stars. The Red Curse is a fun one for me. Now, I'm a big fan of Dark Souls, and a mega obscure mechanic the first game included was called the Gravelord Curse, which was triggered by an incredibly obtuse and obscure mechanic and reasoning that I barely understand, and no doubt someone has made a 45-minute video explaining it. But basically, the Gravelord Curse added these extra black and red enemies which deal double damage and have double health. I wanted to replicate this, however, having extra enemy placements would conflict with one of the rules. So instead, there's a chance that an enemy is replaced by a cursed enemy, which deals, double damage with double health. The higher the intensity, the more common the effect. I didn't really test this too much, so you can just get the worst enemy as a cursed variant and watch as it one-shots you. But it's optional, so it should be fine, right? 4 out of 5 stars. Health insurance is one of the only ones that changes in behavior based on its intensity. Throughout the game, when you kill enemies, they drop health and they rocket towards you. This is like a mechanic of the game and rewards a sort of risky playstyle as long as you get the kill. This Blight will change how the health orbs behave. On intensity 1, they'll simply stay put, meaning you have to go and manually pick them up, which is not too bad, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. Intensity 2 makes them continuously fly upwards, meaning you can straight up miss them if you don't catch them. And Intensity 3 makes them fly away from you entirely. So playing the game now also includes catching your lifesteal before it becomes a real issue. 3 out of 5 stars. I'm still a fan of that acid rain mechanic from Rainy Turtlewood stage, which slowly drains your health. So I wanted to incorporate it, resulting in Heat Wave. It slowly drains your health. Whoa, that doesn't look right. Hold on. Here we go. Which isn't too bad as there are frequent checkpoints. And as shown before, enemies drop health. The reason why I changed it to a heat wave is I didn't want an obnoxious rain effect to appear on every stage. Though I did intend to have some sort of wavy effect like this to simulate heat. Though I couldn't get it working though because the shader gets overtaken by the shader that I used to change the hue. And to be honest with you guys, I have no idea how shaders work, man. I mean, they freak me out and I don't want to go back to sitting in class and watching 30-minute videos on shader fundamentals. 1 out of 5 stars. Alright, this one is my favorite. I just wanted to lean into the idea of these nonsensical threats to the player. And I'm not even going to explain this one. Just look at this. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Sticky Fingers isn't a crazy one. Just builds up status effect whenever you take damage from enemies. Though, of course, in areas where this status is rampant, you'll be dealing with the sticky debuff. And the only way to get rid of it is by wiggling like a worm. 1 out of 5 stars. Are you familiar with Shadow Mario from the Wonder and Galaxy games? Basically, it was this doppelganger which made some funky noises and followed Mario as he went through the stage. Now, it didn't just simply track the player. It retraced their steps, meaning you needed to remember your own movements a couple of seconds ago to avoid an embarrassing collision course. In the spirit of that, I introduce Cetus. Cetus functions the same and retraces your steps. It doesn't do damage to you directly because with everything that's already going on in the level, it might get a little too obnoxious. Instead, it builds the Obliterate status effect. What does Obliterate do, you may ask? You need to keep moving and not stand around when dealing with obtrusive enemies that can take a beating. 5 out of 5 stars. Now you thought that was bad? Now I introduce you to the worst one yet. Relief. Don't let the name fool you, as it does nothing. Jokes aside, it's a free space to add a bit of levity to the system. I do like the idea of having some blights, which can turn out to be somewhat helpful. Adds to the chaotic nature of the Blight Mare. It makes it less oppressive. Now, these all seem pretty wild, and I'd agree that that's the point, but there is a hint of mercy. Trust me, these effects are dispelled when you enter a boss fight or a cutscene. I felt that being stuck in a boss room, fighting like an already complicated boss with a higher health and damage pool, was already enough. And just having these effects would make the fight unbearable and not fun at all. And hey, the best part is I can take suggestions for new Blights, which means I can make another video so everybody wins. No. Stop commenting. I don't stop commenting about the cheese. Stop. I don't want to hear it. I don't know. I'm not going to add, no. I'm not going to add cheese. After releasing this video, I'll get on to porting this over to the main playable version of the game and taking it out of debug mode. So due to the random nature, there's probably some cursed synergies or interactions with some levels that will break the game or make it a mess. But I'll be working to fix those issues, so make sure to report them, either in my Discord or in the Steam discussions. Anyway, that's all I got for you gamers. This was a pretty fun video to make. Certainly took some time because I was sick for a bit and it completely shattered my masculine frame. But yep, I should be back. I got some new video ideas. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. Put a like if you feel like it. You can actually play my game as well. It's real. It's in the description. And I've also got a Discord channel if you want to keep up to date with updates and stuff like that. I've also got some other videos if you want to check it out. But yeah, thanks for making it this far. This has been a fun journey. And if you're wondering, yes, I like Mega Man X6. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I know.